Greetings, my friends. I'm standing by the shore of the Indian Ocean, and it's not by chance, because today our weekly reading is focused on the greatest miracle of the Old Testament, crossing of the Red Sea. Of course, it wasn't as vast as Indian Ocean, but it was a part of the Red Sea, Gulf of Agaba. And scripture writes about that miracle that mighty waters parted and the depths like a desert stand in front and froze, and the people crossed sea through the sea floor.
We know that initial departure point was Rameses. The first designated stop was Sukkoth. There, in the light of rising sun, the multitude could finally begin to comprehend the full scale of the Exodus. You would find your place among the crowd, your rank in a camp, and your pace in a journey. From Sukkoth, the next stop was Etham, which is often translated as the edge of the mountains. For many years, the prevailing theory, which is supported by tradition and the church fathers, held that Israelites took an easy route to the shore. Look at this map. The distance from Rameses to the Sea of Reeds would be only 40 kilometers, leading to a string of marshy lakes. And these lakes are Timsah and Bitter lakes, shallow, brackish wetlands populated by the reed birds, herons and flamingos. Why was this route considered correct? Because the Hebrew term Yam Suf, which is translated in English Bible Red Sea, literally means sea of reeds. And indeed, reeds grow abundantly in this particular lakes. But here's the linguistic key. The word Suf may be spelled identically, yet read differently depending on a cantillation mark called Te'amim in Hebrew, a mark that helps guide pronunciation and meaning. Without vowel markings, the same root may also be read as Sof, meaning the end or the edge, not only the reeds. So Yam Suf can be translated the sea of the end, which is the eastern edge of Egypt borders, possibly referring to the Gulf of Agaba. And in fact, multiple references throughout the Hebrew Bible associate Yam Suf with the Gulf of Agaba, not merely the northern marshes near the Suez. And in recent years, thanks to the opening of Saudi Arabia for tourism in 2019, researchers and archaeologists have been able to explore a new alternative route that leads not to the Mount Sinai in Egypt. Look at this map with the traditional Sinai mountain marking very south of peninsula, stop 8. But to the Mount Sinai in Midian, which is today northwestern Saudi Arabia, which is completely new perspective of this journey. I'm personally grateful to Andrew Jones of Discovered Media, who generously provided rare video footage of this terrain. Real, rugged, breathtaking path Israelites experienced. Wadi Watir. It is Egypt side, just before crossing. A narrow gorge, dry riverbed that cuts through the mountains and empties into the vast Nuweiba beach on the Gulf of Agaba. A site for miraculous crossing, As the Israelites entered Wadi Watir, Pharaoh believed they were wandering aimlessly, confused in a desert. The Torah says they are entangled in a land. Nevuchim hem ba'aretz, hemmed in the mountains, lost in a dead-end canyon. The terrain was indeed difficult. Rocky desert, twisting paths, steep slopes. It was through the very mountain path that the pillar of fire and the cloud of glory, the divine Shekinah, led them onward by night and by day. How long would it take to reach Nuweiba beach from Sukkoth? Even modern Bedouins will tell you that the journey is entirely possible in 7 to 10 days on foot, especially for a large, determined group under Shekinah presence protection. And when they finally emerged at Nuweiba, they stood on a beach stretching 6 to 8 square kilometers, a vast open space, large enough to hold the multitude. But there was no way forward and no way back. Behind them, Pharaoh's chariots approaching. Before them, the deep waters of the sea. This was the place of fear, of faith, and of miracle. God's hand in action.
They were not warriors to face the Pharaoh army. They were slaves for hundreds of years. They can't fight that great army of 600 of choice chariots and all the chariots of Egypt. Bible says the wind blew the whole night, west wind that brings the victory from the Lord, wind that's the Lord's wind that helps, and the wind cleared the path that the waves stayed like a mighty wall. The whole nation of millions can pass through the waters. This miracle is described in Psalms so many times. Mighty waves stood still, frozen. Some of the Targums we read that the miracle happened when people in faith stepped in the water and went all the way to the neck, and then, according to their faith, God opened up the waters. That talks something to us as well. We have to step in faith in order that God could answer in miracle for us. We're looking forward for the day when we will stay at the shore of eternity and sing the song of Moses that he sang together with the entire Israel nation. Song that praises victory of God, that the death and the pain and suffering will be buried in the sea and we will never see it again. God bless you to reach that day and sing that song of Moses on the shore